Hello and welcome to the Daily Fantasy 5 podcast for this Saturday, August 17th. This is episode 177, and we are bringing you the 5 things you need to know every day in the world of fantasy sports. As always, my name is Scott Grierson, and we are brought to you by www.mathradio.com, where you can pick up an online math course for as little as $9.99 to help your kids ages 7 through 17 get higher grades in school, score better on exams, and even get into college at mathradio.com. All right, so big news today in the NFL. And we're going to talk a little baseball, and then we're going to be previewing who are we previewing today? We are previewing the Philadelphia Eagles. So a jam-packed show for you today on a Saturday in the world of fantasy football. Josh Gordon is the big news in the NFL. He has been reinstated. I cannot believe this. This is amazing. So he just instantly steps in as the number one wide receiver in New England. Tom Brady and him crushed it last year. So admittedly, I just found out this news. I have not done full research on this yet. I want to see exactly where Gordon ranks in the weeks he was healthy. Then you really need to think about where the risk lies. What are the odds that he will be? I don't think he's more injury prone than other players, but he's certainly more suspension prone than other players. So, what are the odds that he actually finishes the season? So, there's a lot to go into this. I haven't given it complete thought yet, but just as at first glance, I think I've got him slated in there somewhere around wide receiver 22, kind of behind guys like Alshon Jeffrey and Steven Diggs, Brandon Cooks, behind Tyler Lockett, behind that group. But then kind of in front of your Chris Godwins, your Mike Williams, your AJ Greens, Jarvis Landry's. I think he's probably somewhere in there. Essentially because he has the upside to be a number one wide receiver, but obviously there's a lot of risk that goes into it as well. And again, I haven't really measured that risk yet. I need to take a deeper look. Hopefully we have time to do that tomorrow, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about Josh Gordon, but big news with the Josh Gordon front there. So it'll be interesting to see where he's being drafted. We get some fresh numbers this week, and we can see where he's going in ADP and in, best ball leagues and things like that. So very big news out of New England. The Chargers had a huge setback. Man, I'm afraid I might have to redo some of my predictions here. A little spoiler alert, the Chargers had the best record in all of football when I went through all the teams, and they just lost another player, Derwin James. He's going to be out indefinitely with a stress fracture in his foot. This is a horrible injury for football players. It often is a injury that reoccurs if you don't give it enough time off. So this is definitely going to hurt the defense for sure. He was probably, one of their best 2-3 defenders on that team. He's one of the things that made them special last year. Now, this probably helps the offensive players from a fantasy perspective a little bit, but yeah, it's certainly going to hurt the defense and the team overall. So let's move on to our third football story. Another defensive story, New York Jets. Linebacker Williams has a torn ACL, and he will be out for the year. So things just keep getting worse in New Jersey for the Jets. I don't think there was a lot of optimism going around. I heard that, breakout candidate for cornerback came from that team. I don't really see it. I don't think the Jets are doing much this year. They spent a lot of money in the offseason. Do you see any way they beat the Patriots in that division? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to wild card from that division anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and pass on the Jets. This news, does it do anything for the offense? Probably not. The only player you're really targeting from the Jets is probably Le'Veon Bell, and I'm not targeting him anyway because this team is going to stink. So if they're constantly behind in games, that hurts Le'Veon Bell even more. So yeah, passing on all Jets. Our final story comes out of baseball. Fernando Tatis Jr., he's going to be out for the rest of the year with a back injury. He was crushing it this season. Probably still going to be rookie of the year, batting .317 with 22 home runs. So pretty fantastic stuff from him this season. But yes, he will be out for the remainder of the year. Okay, now let's talk about the NFL Countdown Extravaganza. We have 20 days remaining? 19 days remaining? Not many days remaining in the NFL Countdown Extravaganza. Let me just take a quick peek. 19 days left before the NFL season kicks off with the Packers and the Chicago Bears. And today we are talking NFC East. We are talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. So my first question is, can this team get lucky? So last year they were incredibly unlucky. Philly had the second worst injury luck of any team in the NFL last season. So regression to the mean should mean that this team should stay a lot more healthy. right? Now, they have no more Nick Foles to save this day. Somehow, this team still managed to make the playoffs last year. And a lot of people thought they would make another Super Bowl run with Nick Foles. It didn't actually happen. I think most of this team's luck is going to come in, not so much injury luck with the whole team, although if you figure they might be a game better than they were last year, if they are a little bit healthier. If Carson Wentz is healthy this year, that's all that really matters. And that's question number 2. Can Carson Wentz lead this team in the playoffs? So Carson Wentz was not there for any playoff run the last 2 seasons. 2 years ago, obviously, they won the Super Bowl last year. They came up a bit short. I think they lost in the second round of the playoffs. I think they won their wild card game, if I remember correctly. But Carson Wentz is pretty much going to be this team. If he's fantastic, if he plays at an MVP level like he did 2 years ago, I think the Eagles are one of the teams that can win the Super Bowl. They are going to be one of my picks in my shotgun league to win the Super Bowl. That's where you pick 5 teams. If one of those 5 teams wins the Super Bowl, you win, right? So Eagles are definitely going to be one of my teams because I think they have the most talent up and down that roster. I think they're going to be fantastic. And again, it's just if Carson Wentz can stay healthy. Can that happen? I don't see any reason why not. The offensive line should get even better. It was already one of the strengths of the team. They drafted Andre Dillard, who should provide insurance in case Peters gets injured this season or just can't make it through. And he'll probably start somewhere on that offensive line throughout the year. He's pretty versatile. You can kind of play all over the place. So I like that draft pick for them. So it should be a pretty interesting year for them as well. Now, the big question is this team better than league average overall? Because last year they were pretty much league average. Defensive DVOA 16th, offense was 16th, defense was 15th. So pretty much right in the middle of the league in both categories. Now, I like this group of position players better than last year. So this year we have Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders, and actually they re-signed Darren Sproles. So that's a great backfield. I don't really love Jordan Howard, but I didn't like Ajayi or Jordan Matthews or any of those guys anyway last year. So I think this group, especially with Miles Sanders, I think he'll be starting by week 4. I think Miles Sanders really is primed for a breakout year. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he finished as a top 10 running back in fantasy. And then some of the wide receivers are gone as well. Mike Wallace, Golden Tate. Those guys are all gone, but they still have Zach Ertz, Nelson Aguilar, Alshon Jeffrey. So this team should have plenty of firepower. They brought in Deshaun Jackson, and they brought in who they drafted, Arcega-Whiteside from Stanford as well. So there should be plenty of weapons on this team for Carson Wentz to work with. Great offensive line. There should be no questions on this offense as long as Carson Wentz stays healthy, and the defense should be fine too. I don't think there's any questions about it that this defensive group is very, very talented, and there should be no problems on that side of the football. So, is this team better than the league average? I certainly think so. If Carson Wentz, is healthy, I think this is a top 6 offense, and the defense with just regular health, I think, is a top 10 defense. So that is a playoff team, certainly, and certainly a certain Super Bowl contender as well. All right, let's talk fantasy real quick. Carson Wentz is the quarterback on this team. He's going as QB9. I think that's about right. If he's healthy, I think he's a top 5 quarterback. If he's not healthy, then you drop him and you stream a quarterback because he's not being drafted until pick 94. So you can pick him up in the 8th round of your draft. I'm still probably waiting longer than that. I think I have Carson Wentz in 1 draft this season, so he's not someone I'm particularly targeting. But if you draft him in the 8th round, I don't hate that. Alshon Jeffrey being drafted as wide receiver 20, I think is good value. I've seen him slip in a lot of leagues. People don't like him for whatever reason, but he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver on a very offensively talented team. So I think that is a nice value there with Alshon Jeffrey at wide receiver number 20. And then you have Miles Sanders, the running back I already talked about. He's being drafted as running back number 32. I think that's way, way, way too low. Jordan Howard just isn't very good. Jordan Howard had all the opportunity in the world in Chicago, and they just let him go. They're like, nah, we don't need you anymore. So I think rookie Miles Sanders is going to finish as at least a top 20 running back. You can get him outside the top 30 when you're drafting. I think that is great value. Even if you have to draft Miles Sanders around early, say you get him, let's see, where is he actually being drafted among overall? Running back 32 is what? Overall pick 97, right? So you can pick him up in the 8th round as well. You might not be able to get both Alshon Jeffrey and, the quarterback, Carson Wentz and Miles Sanders, but I think Miles Sanders is such a good value. I have him in, probably 50% of my leagues in best ball. So it might hurt me if he doesn't do as well as I think. But yeah, I seriously think he'll be starting by at least week 4. I expect him to get the majority of the snaps. Everything from camp says that he is outperforming Jordan Howard. So yeah, give me all the Miles Sanders stock, absolutely. And then for over unders, as far as Vegas goes, over under in Las Vegas is 9.5 for this team. I think it's low. When I went through the league with a schedule, I ended up with the Eagles winning 12 games. Maybe that number's high, but if Carson Wentz is healthy, this team is outstanding. I love this Philadelphia Eagles team. I think they're great top to bottom. And if, like I said, it's all about Carson Wentz. So I think they easily beat 9.5 if he stays healthy. The only problem is there is no backup quarterback anymore, right? Nick Foles is not walking back through those doors. So that could be the only problem. If Wentz has to sit out 2-3 games, I think Nate Sudfeld is the backup. Yeah, that could be trouble. But yeah, I'm going to bet on Carson Wentz. I'm going to take the over on this team. And yeah, I'm pounding it. I pounded it 2 years ago, the year they actually won the Super Bowl. I thought they were going to be great during the regular season, and they were. I see the same thing this year. They're definitely going to be one of my shotgun teams. The Eagles and the Patriots and the Saints are my 3 that I'm totally in on right now. Outside of those 3 teams, I'm still thinking about the Chiefs, we don't need to go in this today, but yeah, the Chiefs, the Colts, the Packers, who else? The Rams are all in contention, I think, as well. But yeah, I love the Eagles this year, so I'm taking the over 9.5 in the Las Vegas over unders. All right, and that is it for the show today. We're only bringing you one NFC East team today. Tomorrow we will have the Cowboys for you, and hopefully we'll have a mock draft to talk about. My stepdad and I are going through a big best ball league on draft.com right now. We're in round, I think, 10, 11. So might talk about that league tomorrow. Just what happens when you draft a quarterback early, because my stepfather really wanted to draft Aaron Rodgers early. So we drafted him more early than I would normally draft a quarterback. And we'll talk a bit about that tomorrow. What happens to your roster when you draft quarterbacks early, and what happens when you don't take running backs in the early rounds as well. So we'll have all that on the show for you tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed the show today. Please visit our sponsor, www.mathradio.com. Also, if you're listening to the show on a podcast, we'd appreciate a 5-star rating and a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, hello, please hit that red subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. Bye for now. We'll see you tomorrow.